In the split up the middle story, if you can remember, into the third day, long after the invasion began on day one, with the massive group armies and the Russian Combined Arms Army, the 41st, crossing the border, um, the PAP brigade, the light armor brigade that Corporal Way belonged to, with its 8 subordinate battalions, with Way's company being part of one of those 8 battalions, was operating to the northwest of San Antonio long after it had been subdued and the main prongs of the externals had gone deep inland, basically into Kansas. Um, what you see in that on part 20 is the lots of battles erupting in the AO of the 15th PAP Light Armored Brigade, with Kerrvlle being the main focus of this story analysis and review video in part 20. Kerrvlle was one of the many towns that Way's company in his battalion of the one of 8 battalions of his brigade were busy subduing. Now, when that battle in that small town began, what you had was the original company here. It was lured into a bit of a trap by a competent American civilian, armed civilian leader, who these leaders had basically set a trap for the PAP. When one of their companies came to clear the town, had basically lured them in and assaulted their company, managing to eliminate 3 of their APCs and 1 of their IFVs out of their 12 total APCs and 2 IFVs. Now, en route to the town was called in reinforcements from Way's company, Corporal Way's company, which is right here, and also a company of light tanks of the Type 62G variety, the upgraded Type 62s. They headed into the town, and what they did was they assaulted strong points that had given the original company, the 125 men that began in the town, well, really it was 130, but they'd lost some men by that point, that had given them trouble. They began to assault strong points. Now, one of those was the local schoolhouse, essentially, that had been turned into a hard point, a strong point, where the American civilians basically turned it into a fortified structure of sorts, being that it was already largely reduced to rubble from the giant rocket and howitzer artillery barrages that were being called in, the shells and the rockets being called in by the original company. And also what you'll see is at the very end of the several hours long battle is a pair of Nanchang Q5s ended up being called in to do an airstrike on a drainage ditch that was being used as another fortified area by this strong point that Way's company was essentially tasked with subduing. Now, what I will do is I will show you how the events unfolded from the beginning to the end. Now, in the first few hours, this company that had been coming in to clear this town had been ambushed by the competently led Americans on the south end and here in the northern end. Before Way's company came in, they had strong points here and downtown in this, and also in the shopping area. To the north was where the reinforcements came in from around the town and also from the south. But what happened was, amid the artillery, the armed civs began to be horribly mauled by that, in tandem with fighting the concentrated vehicle forces of these APCs and IFV, the one IFV that remained, as well as these infantry troops. And then they had to contend with the Light Tank Company and Corporal Way's other Mech Inf Grenadier companies that came in to assist. And Way's company was tasked with subduing, again, this strong point right here, which is the local education center and the surrounding areas. Now the tanks, what they did was they came straight on in and flanked these civs in downtown in rubbled buildings and what few buildings remained. They flanked them and hit them from the side in 3 prongs before then coming up north and hitting the reinforcements that were coming into the town. Before breaking into 2 parts, 1 tank platoon went this way and the other 3 went this way to surround the town. Now you have to keep in mind that tanks can kind of space out a little more as they have a longer range of fields of fire, and 1 platoon went down here to annihilate some of the reinforcements being fed into the town before coming right here to guard this approach, as the other platoon guarded this approach after they had already gone in. Now I take you to where Corporal Way's company was in all of this, and they were by the local schoolhouse here. And what happened was they basically came to where 2 platoons of their company broke up, and 1 platoon went towards the parking lot, and the other was on the street adjacent to a drainage ditch, but couldn't get across due to the steep nature of the ditch and narrow nature, because they couldn't ford it or they would get stuck. So they stayed on the road to provide support against the largely rubbled building of the structure here, and also against this drainage ditch where they were taking fire. Now, up here at this building, just north of the area, past these abandoned cars that caught on fire due to the crossfire, and also this vehicle here, which is a vehicle, a APC that was hit by a Molotov thrown from this man on top of this building, which smashed inside of the hatch and caught the entire thing on fire, with the some of the PAP retreating and being gunned down as they did so by these men up here. Now that happened, and then Way's PAP company came in, of his mech infantry grenadiers, and what they did was, because they couldn't cross, again, they laid down suppressive fire on this area and on the ditch here, while the troops themselves that dismounted from their APCs got into the ditch. Here is basically half a platoon of them right here. Some of the other troops are off to this side, the other 2 squads, but you have 1 squad here, 1 squad here. They lobbed their barrel-mounted and also some hand-thrown grenades. You had a guy fire a RPG rocket here, and you had others firing light machine guns and other barrel-launched grenades. Now, what they did was they formed into a wedge and bounded and covered, stopping 1 time here and then getting up and then stacking on the wall. But what happened first was a lot of these munitions impacted and killed some of the men taking cover inside of the rubbled building before they got up and went in to finish the clearing job, and then coming out and stacking along this wall to fight the enemies that were in the drainage ditch right here before the airstrike came in that was called in, which came in minutes later from the 2 Nanchang Q5s that were scrambled from the area that were already in the air. Now over here, you see these other 2 APCs belonging to another platoon in the company dismounted their troops, who flanked the building from hitting it with this side. Now, if you watch the last 2 videos just before this one, the last one before this one was about internal or building tactics, and then the one before that was more about outdoors tactics of tactical maneuvering. So this combines both in an example. Now you see they bounded and covered toward the building. These guys, you see this flamethrower guy burning it, and the other guys are laying fire, heavy fire there, while these guys head for this building here. And upon getting inside, after having dispatched these enemies right here, eliminating them, they go inside and stack on both sides of the hall. This one squad divvies into two 5-man stack teams, and they break in here and eliminate this guy in the corner and then go clear this area. By that time, Corporal Way, who was over here firing at these guys, sees the Q5 strike come in right here and utterly decimate them, which was a mixture of strafing and dropped ordnances. And over here, you see over here, this building is heavily peppered with various types of munitions, ammunition, and these are the dead PAP guys that got eliminated while trying to get out of their burning vehicle. And yeah, so essentially that blends. And you see these APCs shooting over there to provide cover for their infantry guys, which are making for the building. Same over here. That, again, blends external and building tactics into one type of thing. These guys, upon eliminating this guy, of course, moved through here when these guys went in here and did that.